guys, welcome to my channel. Today I want to walk you through how I set up my xpole A-frame inside my not gigantic apartment every day to do my training. The A-frame is a really great option if you're looking to train at home because it becomes very complicated very quickly to think about putting a rigging point directly into your ceiling. Which I know because I'm actually sort of in the process of looking at that right now. And because I have a plaster ceiling with wood beams inside, it becomes very complicated and very expensive. The only times that really is a good, easy option is if you have a concrete ceiling or if you happen to have an exposed beam you can hook right around. But even then, it's much better to have someone come and check out what the structure can withstand, and you have to worry about insurance. So it just can be a bit of a nightmare, which is why I'm super glad that I've got this baby right here, because she is a great way for me to train at home, and I can actually do a surprisingly large amount of stuff. In this room, my ceilings are about 2.7 meters. I will find out what that is in feet and put it on your screen. At the moment, I have her on the medium height setting, which is just perfect for the space because I can fit her under the ceiling with only about this much space lost. If you had really tall ceilings, there is another height setting where you can bring it up another about 4 feet, which would be great to have. That's also going to make the legs wider apart, obviously. So if you have that kind of space, like, great for you. I'm so jealous. But if you don't, it's still gonna work. I will measure how far apart the feet are so that you can know if you have enough floor space, and I will put that in the description down below this video so that you know exactly how much space the feet will take on that medium height setting. I do take this out and put it down every time that I train, which is normally 5 or 6 days a week. But it's honestly not that complicated now that I've done it a bunch of times and I know how to do it efficiently and quickly. I can do it in between 10 and 15 minutes. I do have to move a little bit of furniture out of the way, but to be honest, it's really not that much of a hassle. In fact, it's actually a lot less of a hassle than having to leave my house and go to the real training studio and take the metro and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not that big of a hassle. I also strongly recommend, if you can, to purchase the top bar extension, which makes this whole thing a little bit wider. I am 5'10", and I do have quite a lot of problems with hitting the sides when I do moves that are more horizontally oriented. It's not painful. I have not hurt myself by hitting my feet or my hands, but it's just annoying because it stops your spin and it messes up your video and you're just annoyed. So avoid that. Order the top bar extension when you order your rig and be happier. Also, this is a great option for the summertime when you can use it to get great outside videos in a park or wherever. It's really nice to have that option. I will say it can be quite heavy to transport, so if you're going to do that, plan on taking a car because you are not going to be able to walk to your local park carrying all of this metal. So this is my A-frame corner. I've got all of my A-frame disassembled and hidden behind this mirror, which is actually pretty easy to do. It also packs pretty flat when it's in its case, so you can put it under your sofa or under a bed. It's pretty easy to kind of conceal it and have it out of the way. I have my 4 A-frame legs in here, plus the cross piece that goes across the top. And then I also have my pole in here, so this is not all A-frame. The A-frame is actually a little bit less than this. Let's go ahead and start setting this up for the day. I've got my little Tofifi box that sadly is not filled with chocolate, but with all of the hardware that I need for the A-frame. So I have these little pins that go through the legs to hold everything in place. And then I've got these 2 straps that will go between each of the legs to make the whole thing a little bit more steady with the tension that they give. I've set out my A-frame on the floor basically already in the position it's going to be because you don't want to try to move it once it's already set up. That is a pain. So I've got my feet set out and now I'm just going to start putting the legs into the centerpiece. So I've got my little pins to hold the legs on. I'm going to preset them close to where I'm going to be when I put the leg in, because what you don't want to do is put in legs and then start fiddling with something else before you secured them and let them fall out. I definitely have a few little scratches and scars on my floor from doing just that. So you want to be making sure the whole time that every time you attach a leg or attach whatever, you're securing it before you move on to something else. So I've got my leg going into the hole. I've moved it so that it's already in a straight line from where the centerpiece is, and that way you can line it up really easily. And then I line up the two holes, the one in the leg and the one in the centerpiece. I attach my pin, and that leg is on. Because I'm doing this by myself and it's not the most like coordinated thing in the world, I'm sort of fiddling and I use my feet to secure the placement of the leg quite a lot. I've got my leg attached to the centerpiece and there's a little hole in the centerpiece, and I'm just going to twist, oh there it is, twist it around until it lines up with the hole in the leg, and then I put my pin through. And very importantly, so the pin can't come out, I'm going to pull this little round cross piece that's on the pin, open it up, and hook it around the other side of the pin. So this way it's hooked over both ends of the pin, and the pin can't go anywhere. So I highly recommend, as you are setting this up, just to try to keep one hand on each piece that you're working with, especially if you're doing it by yourself. Because it's not going to have like a catastrophe where everything falls apart and there's a big disaster, but it does have a tendency just to kind of tip itself over. Like I was just setting up this shot with my camera and then it tipped over and I just managed to catch it before it scratched my wall. So just, you know, be aware that it does have a tendency to be unsturdy until it's fully set up. And then of course, once it's fully set up, it's going to be fine and completely sturdy and you can do whatever with it. This is the foot that is on the end of each leg. You can see that there's a hinge here so that the foot can adjust to whatever sort of angle it needs to be at. And on the bottom of the foot is a nice rubber pad. So this has really good traction on my hardwood floors. And I imagine that it would on anything like linoleum or stone or of course concrete. I think it would even be fine on like a thin carpet. I think the only time you might have a little bit of weirdness is if you had a really thick piled carpet. Also, when you're carrying these legs, like when I'm moving them into place to start setting it up, you want to make sure that you have a finger holding that leg together, because if not, you'll lift this part and it'll just start to extend. So you want to make sure that you're holding the whole thing together. Here is the middle step. I've got all four legs attached. I've got all my pins attached at the top of the four legs, and I've got my A-frame in generally the placement that I want it to be in the room. None of these pieces are particularly heavy. If you're able to do aerial, you're absolutely going to be able to lift each of these pieces separately. And now I'm ready to start extending the legs and coming up to the full height that I can reach in this space. Here comes the slightly tricky part. You're just going to get your pin ready and lift up one end of your A-frame. You want to make sure that you do have enough space for the other end to lean out and not hit your wall. And when you can slide the extension of the leg all the way down, put your pin into the little hole and secure it. So you're gonna do one side and then the other side. I have, like I said, 2.7 meter ceilings, and I've worked out with trial and error that I can get this to the top of the medium height setting. That basically means that I have this section of the leg, this section of the leg, and then a third section of the leg that's the same size as these two, but I can't extend the third section. I can use the two sections that are on the top. So that's sort of the medium height that this will go. Of course, if I had more vertical space, I could use the third section and this whole thing would get a bit taller and also a bit wider, which would be lovely, but unfortunately is not an option in this space. Here's the final step. I'm just going to lift up the opposite side. The two legs should extend by themselves as I lift up, but you may need to help them out a little. I've got my pins ready to go, except that I just dropped it. That's good. And I'm just going to put it again through the hole, just like we did on the top, and secure it into place. And my last leg. I'm gonna finish off with attaching the straps that will just hold the legs a little bit more tightly and more securely and make the whole thing a little bit more stable. So what I'm gonna do is take the strap has a little tiny loop in the end. I'm gonna put it around the C-curve part of the pins, and then I'm going to come over here with the other end of the strap and do the exact same thing. And then I can use this little adjuster to tighten up the strap. I just do it as tight as I can pull. It doesn't really have to be like industrial strength tightness. And you can also use these straps more on the foot. There's another hole that is closer to the base of the leg when you have the entire thing fully extended. But because I don't have the vertical space to fully extend the whole structure, this is the best option for a strap placement that I have, is this middle hole where I have the pins through to hold the legs up and in place. Take the end of the strap and wrap it around the leg and then tuck it in so it's out of my way. And there we go, that's one strap. I'll do the other one. Here's the little loop that's the end of the strap. And the same as I did with the first two pins, I'm just going to put the C-curve through the loop and then reattach to my pin on the other side. And you can see it's nice and secure now. This is the adjuster buckle that's in the middle. I've got the strap coming in from both sides and this little lever that I can push down. So that's what loosens up its grip on the strap. So to tighten it, I push down the lever and I just pull as much as I can. And then when I want to take my strap off, when I'm taking my A-frame down, I just push the lever again and I can pull the strap right out. Here she is, all set up. On my top bar, I just leave my swivel attached. I've done the homemade version of the rigging point. Normally you can just buy these metal 8s from xpole or Uplift Active or wherever you get your rig from that slide over that top bar, and it's an actual like metal figure 8 shape that you can rig from. But what I've done is just taken a 1 meter span set strap, wrapped it around a bunch of times, put both ends through a shackle, and then put my swivel right onto the shackle, which is fine for the moment. Eventually I will order some 8s, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And so now all I have to do is hop up on a chair, hook my hoop on or my hammock or my straps or whatever I'm using today, and get started. When you start using an A-frame, especially if you haven't been on one before, just be aware that it is going to move slightly. So if I shake a leg, you can see that it wiggles back and forth. This is not a problem. It does not have anything to do with the structural integrity or strength of your A-frame. It's just because you have all of these joints like this, where it's one piece fit into another piece. And there, of course, is going to be 1 millimeter of movement or just a little bit of wiggle room where it's just going to wiggle a little bit. The connections between the pieces just are going to move. That's just how it is. So if you feel wiggly on it, take some time, get used to that feeling, get used to kind of predicting how things are going to feel when you're on it. And also don't be worried, because that is completely normal and not a problem. So she's all set up for the day and I'm ready to get started with my training. I hope you enjoyed this video and it answered some of your questions about the possibilities you have with an A-frame rig for use indoors. If you have any other questions, let me know, because I'm happy to answer them. And if you have a video idea or a move that you would like to learn or whatever, also let me know that, because I do take requests for videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because I've already got lots and lots and lots and lots of cool aerial videos and tutorials and choreography and all sorts of stuff on there. So head on over and subscribe and join our community of aerialists.